former prisoner and inmate.
You did it. What are you doing, Guns?
You bit the hell out of me.
Wanna see you with your hands up. Going straight to the sky, let me see you put your hands up. Cause we do till we die and we on another level.
I'm at New York City.
To the rest, we goodbye, we could get some closer. Got a piece of the pie. Told you once, told you twice that we only got one life.
On the way to achieve success after prison, and he's going to share his story with us right now.
Diamond shine, best at night. You wear yours, I'll wear mine. Go dumb tonight.
Well, this is what happens when you let your wife book all your appointments and all that. Now, my wife usually does a great job, but for whatever reason, I wasn't looking at the clock. My appointment was at 2 o'clock, and I don't know, I get busy working on the computer and stuff. She's like, you got half an hour to get there. I'm like, oh, okay, I get here, and the chick's like, you're early. I look at the clock. It's not even 1 o'clock yet. My appointment's at 2. My wife's like, oh, I thought it was at 12:30. I don't get on her about it because she gets everything right, most 99.9% of the time, so I can't get that mad. And she did buy me some new waders, so that makes up for it. So anyways, but what's really pissing me off is my air conditioning's not working. For whatever reason, my AC's broke. It's not working, man. This is the second time the AC has gone out in this car. I don't know what the frick it does. I hear it going, wow, 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 but then it doesn't kick on. It's like hear it, and normally it goes on, it comes on, but it's not coming on. I don't know. So it's kind of hot in here. It's pissing me off. So I can't even see the light. Back to this story of, I really want to say his name. And if I say his name, some people will Google it and find out who he is and know who the deal is. And some people probably think, oh, this gun is full of shit, he didn't know this guy or whatever. But truth is, I'm trying to remember what he ended up getting busted for. I think it was acid. If I remember correctly, he got busted for acid, a bunch of freaking acid. Not even the weed. The feds couldn't get him on the weed. They tried to get him for the weed, and they were never able to get him for the weed. Sometimes the AC just kicks on. So, anyway, here's how I met the guy. Pretty interesting story. There's a couple of interesting aspects of this. One is, when I was living in New York, so many weird degrees of connection. When I was living in New York, I lived on 86 in Bay Ridge, or I think the road that I lived on, where 86, it turned into Bay Ridge Avenue. I think they changed the name of the street. It was 86 in Bay Ridge when I was there. When I look at the map now, it says Bay Ridge Avenue and First or whatever it is. It's different. I might have changed the street name. I'm not sure. But we lived at 86 and basically between 3rd and Bay Ridge Avenue. Apartment building's still there, I'm sure. It's a nice, big, tall. It was the tallest apartment building in the area, 9 stories high. So there was a bunch of Italian bakeries and bodegas and pastry shops and stuff all up and down 3rd Avenue and all up and down 86. So one day there was a bar. I decided to go for a walk. I think I got some ice cream is what I did. Went to go get some ice cream, summertime. I walked down 86, several blocks farther than I normally would have ventured, because there's nothing better to do. I didn't have a lot of freaking friends in New York. I only knew 3 people. And so I go down to this ice cream place, walking back to ice cream, and in front of me, up in front of me, there's some kind of argument happening. You know what I'm saying? Some dudes. There's a guy with a dog. Really what it was is there's 2 dudes who were arguing with each other. Now, at this point, they're like a block up in front of me, and I'm hearing, mother F you, I'll kill you, blah, blah, blah. But there's another guy standing there, he's got a dog barking, this blonde dude, got a dog, and he's barking. Dog's barking, bark, 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 bark. And the other dude, like, who's an Italian-looking dude, says, get that effing dog away from me, man. That dog bites me, I'm gonna freaking blow its head off. And the guy says, you blow my dog, you shoot my dog, I'll kill you. He's like, you're gonna kill me. And before you know it, the guy, by now, I'm only like about 100 feet away. So I'm just walking along, eat my ice cream, minding my business, like I don't know nothing. And all of a sudden, freaking, this short, dago-looking dude pulls out a gun and shoots the dog. Kills the dog. And I'm like, mother effer, that was gangster, like, right, broad freaking daylight. I'm looking around, eating my ice cream, like, oh shit, man, this freaking cat dude's dog. And that guy was screaming and yelling. Dog didn't die, though, but it was, like, wounded real bad, and he picked it up and ran off, and he got in his car, and he took off. So, and then that's it, all right? So I don't know nothing about nothing. But I would later hear from Vince and Tommy, my two Italian friends who kind of were Lucchese associates. They were low-level kids. They're just kids like me. But they worked for a guy named Vinny, Big Vinny, who was, he's a made guy. Well, they said he was. And kind of a big deal. You know? And so they all rode his dick, you know what I mean? He was like the Paulie of the neighborhood, or for these guys anyways. So I'm gonna Dunham, see if I can. I got an hour to burn, so I'm gonna go to Dunham and see if I can find some fishing stuff. I think this is it here, in here somewhere. So they tell me that the guy who shot the dog was a real somebody. And there's a connection here. I'm going to get to it in a second. Kind of boggle your mind, this connection. So I wish my frickin' AC was working. So I'm going to kind of skip over a little bit of stuff. And so the guy that got his dog shot doesn't really know the guy who shot his dog. He's just some dude. He's like, I'm gonna kill him. They found out who he is, and they did drive-by shooting on him. Like, they pull up in a car. There was 3 Dagos. They're all wise guys, all Italian dudes, all in a car parked somewhere. And the kid, who's like Irish or something, the blonde dude, pulls up and he shoots everybody in the car. And the guy that he was trying to kill gets hit in the leg, but he doesn't die. I think one of the other guys were killed. Now, that guy got shot in the leg, who's a somebody, he's on a rampage. He wants to find out who this kid was, right? That's a crazy ass story, and how I actually came to know this is insane. So he's like determined to find who this kid is who tried to kill him, right? The dude got his dog shot. So I'm trying to remember how. Anyways, the dude had a friend who was a cop. No. He had a sister who was married to it. That's what it was. And a sister that was married to a dude. And that dude had 2 cop friends. And they were able to get him the information on the dude. And they did. First they tried to kill him, but I think they got the wrong guy, and they killed another freaking guy. And then they killed, they did, according to the story. Now, this is all secondhand now. I don't know anything. I'm hearing this story from a dude named, actually, I'm hearing it from Vince and Tommy, 2 young guys who had heard it from Vince, their boss. So I'm just kind of like, and they're telling me these 2 dirty cops were able to locate this freaking dude, and then they kidnapped the kid. And the kid was a freaking gangster, though, man, the Irish kid. I mean, a stone cold gangster. First of all, he tried to kill this freaking mob dude who shot his dog. Killed one of them, wounded the main mob dude. They ended up getting the kid, taking him to like a warehouse or somewhere, and they tortured him. like tortured him, because there was multiple guys in the car, right, who did the shooting. And he says, who are the other guys? We're going to kill you. That's, shoot, it's not, we want the guys, the other guys. So if you don't, we'll torture your ass. And they tortured this guy all freaking night long, according to these guys. And, with blow torches and crap. And he says, I think he does end up giving up his boys. But he says, listen, man, I know you're going to kill me. Just leave my body where it can be found so my mother can collect the insurance. Because if they don't find the body, then she can't collect the insurance. And according to legend or lore that these guys had told me, that they killed him, the main dude shot him in the head. I know his name, I'm not going to say it. The main dude shot him in the head and killed him, and then the body was never found. So but I guess according to what they said is like he agreed. He's like, yeah, okay, fine. For your mom's sake and insurance money, we'll throw the body out on the street. And they're like, yeah. They freaking chopped him up or dropped him in the river or whatever, and his body was never found. Now, the irony is, the dude who knew the cops was this big weed dealer who wasn't even Italian. It's Jewish. Big time weed dealer. But I think by this point he'd stopped selling weed. He was bringing in tons and tons of weed. Now I would learn this from him later on. I never asked him about the cops and all that. None of my business. I was only like 23 years old at the time, so I was just a kid. Just kind of like listening to what he said. But he was real nice. He was real friendly to me. And he'd sit at the bar and talk to me. And I had dinner with him, or lunch or whatever, having a sandwich with him at the store. He liked me because I was friends with his nephew. And he thought I was cool. And he said I had friends in Detroit, and I liked Detroit. And he kind of liked that effect. I was from Detroit, and I was not I was a half Italian, and he was Jewish. I think maybe he thought my name was Jewish too. Lindblom probably thought it was Jewish, but it's not. It's Swedish. I'm 1/8 Swedish, and that's where I got my name. But so, anyways, one day I'm walking down the street. So I'll get to how I met the guy. I'm walking down the street one day, down 3rd Avenue, probably around 70th Street, around this, 75th. Not even sure what's coming. I might have been coming from Brooklyn Dodgers, the little bar that I bounced at sometimes. I worked at, they hire me as not private security, but I guess private security. They'd have some of the kids in the neighborhood, guys would have a party. And they were responsible for hiring their own security. A bar wouldn't provide security. So if you wanted to rent the bar out for a night for let's say you rent the bar out for a night for $1,000. You can charge $20 to get in. Everybody comes in, and you can make $2,000-3,000 back. And the bar, but you got to pay for your own security, and the bar makes money from selling liquor and stuff. So it works out for both. The guy having the party does all the promoting and gets everybody to go. The bar makes money from selling liquor. The promoter makes the money from cover charge. So it all works, but you got to pay for your DJ, you got to pay your bouncers and whatever. So they hired me. I knew this guy named Buccatelli, this big muscle-bound dude who bought steroids from me, and I bought steroids from him. And he's like, yo, you want to work? I said, yeah. So I worked there sometimes, and then during the day, sometimes I go up there and get a burger or something, or kind of hang out there. There's always guys hanging out there. Wise guy wannabes. There were just a bunch of wannabe mob dudes. That guys who got Omerta tattooed on their chest. This guy Buccatelli had Omerta on his chest. I'm like, oh, really? Siciliano Omerta. What kind of clown gets Omerta tattooed on? If you get Omerta tattooed on your chest, you're definitely never going to be in the mob, ever. That's like something Jimmy Calandro would do or something. And nobody will ever take you serious if you get Omerta tattooed on your forearm or your chest. You're just a freaking wannabe. Stop it. You should never want that on you. You don't want anybody to know. You want nobody to know, especially the cops or the public, your mother or anybody. Omerta. And that's a fanboy. Go watch Goodfellas. But anyways, there's a bunch of them guys hanging out all the time. And all they did is talk mob stuff. All day, all night, talk about this guy with that guy and that guy with this guy. He did this and he did that and they did that. And clowns. And they like to tell me how tough they were, too. They were always talking about this guy fight, that fight. I never seen them fight, though. And every time something went down, all they did was push and yell, push and yell, push and yell. I'm like, are you kidding me, bro? Where I come from, these clubs, you got your jaw broken 25 times by the time you're done barking for 5 minutes. It's over, man. You'd be in a stretcher. But it's just different culture. I mean, that was just that neighborhood. I don't know what it's like other neighborhoods. I'm sure there's other neighborhoods that were real tough and people were tough, but this is Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and it was just pussies. So I'm coming from that place, I'm pretty sure, because that's the only reason I would have been down there. I can't remember for sure which street Brooklyn Dodgers, the club, was on, but it was down that way. If I had to guess, I would say it was like upper 70s, 78th Street, something like that. So I'm walking along, and there's these dudes in front of me, right? Some kids. And there's people everywhere. It's 3rd Avenue. 3rd Avenue, by the way, is the main thoroughfare that goes through Brooklyn, New York, right? Or that part of Brooklyn, Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. But it goes through the whole, like, it's the main vein that goes through that, like, the east side of Brooklyn. Or west side of Brooklyn, excuse me. And it's kind of close to the river. It's very busy. A lot of businesses, very industrial. But where I was, it's just little mom and pop shops, clubs, bars, pool halls, little check cashing places, maybe a little grocery store here and there, some bodegas and things like that. I was walking along, diddy bopping, I think I had my headphones on. I was listening to some freaking, Walkman radio, because that's what I did. I always walked everywhere. I bought my headphones, I'm jamming out. And in front of me, there's 3 freaking dudes. And they're young. They're like my age, maybe even younger than me. They were younger than me, but not much, but a couple years, a year or two younger than me. We're walking along. One was like a kind of a redheaded, dorky kid. One was a kind of like a good-looking Greek or Italian kid. Another one was just kind of regular kid. And they're kind of animated, and they're talking and laughing and having a good old time. And they're up in front of me about, 25 feet. But in front of them is more people, and behind me is more people. So there's people walking everywhere. It's New York, people are walking. Walking along, and for whatever reason, it catches my eye. This guy drops a bag of weed. I see it fall right out of his pocket. Point, hits the ground. They just keep walking, and he's talking and animated. I'm like, does he drop a freaking bag of weed? I'm walking up, and looking around, pick this bag of weed. About a 1/4 ounce of weed. Nice sack of good green bud. And I'm like, no, I could keep it. I should keep it. It's free weed. I smoked weed. But I didn't smoke a lot of weed at the time. I could sell it, if I get 40, 50 bucks for it, but I don't even know anyone who'd buy it. I don't know anybody. I guess Vince and Tommy would know. I could have called them and say, hey, I got a 1/4 ounce of weed for sale. If anybody wants it, give me 25 bucks. But, it's kind of, they would have been like, 25 bucks? Well, that's how broke I was, too, though, at the time. I wasn't making much money. There was points where I was like, 25 bucks. That mattered. But, until we hit the Cherry Hill textile scam, which I don't know if I've ever told that story on here either. I need to tell that story. She said, I need to remember to tell that. I got to remember to tell that story. I don't think I've ever told this story. A Cherry Hill textile scam. That's how I freaking hit it big in New York, for me. I made like $40,000 in like, I don't know, less than 2 months probably. It's a lot of freaking money, man, for a kid who's like 23 years old. And I made it all on my own, too, pretty much for the most part. And then Tommy and Vince found out about it, and then they told Big Vince, and then they wanted me to then they started pressuring the shit out of me, and I stopped doing it. We ended up almost getting busted. It's a crazy story, but we were scamming this textile plant, raping it. And we got checks out of there that were like, business checks, you know what I'm saying? We were printing them out and cashing them at all these freaking check cashing places. We probably made $8,000-10,000 from that before they stopped. There was like a red flag if you walked up. Don't cash these checks, they're bogue. All the different check cashing places in the neighborhood. So I say, I could keep this weed, but I said, or I could go over there and like tell the guy, here, man, here's freaking weed, man, and maybe I make a friend. That's kind of how I saw it. Like, I don't have no freaking friends. I don't really know anybody in New York, so I kind of freaking pick up the weed and I hustle up to him, like, yo. And I turn around, what's up, man? I'm like, yo, you drop this, man. I'm like, drop what? Dude's like the redheaded kid. He's like, what? Oh, hell yeah, man. Holy shit, man. Are you kidding me? I'm like, dude, man, thanks, bro. You're a freaking good man. I can't believe I freaking dropped this. I'm like, yeah, it fell out of your pocket. I saw it. I grabbed it up. They're like, dude, you're a good freaking man, bro. They're like, you smoke weed? I'm like, yeah, sometimes. And they're like, you want to smoke one? I said, sure. They're like, you want to go up to the Fort Hamilton? And I'm like, what's that? And I'm like, the high school. It's only a couple blocks over and up a little bit. We always hang out there, like the basketball courts. We hang out, smoke weed. And I'm like, yeah, we can do that. We can go right to my apartment, man. And they're like, where you live? I said, 86 right here. I'm like, anyone home? I'm like, no, it's me and my sister. She's at work. And they're like, you serious? I said, yeah, man, let's go to my house. I'm like, cool. So I go up to my house. roll a fatty, smoke a joint, and my sister comes home from work shortly after. I don't think we're there more than 20, 30 minutes. And the apartment reeks like weed. She comes walking in, it's like a cloud of smoke. We're all stoned as hell, laughing and giggling. And she's like, what the frick is this? I'm like, she pulls me in the bedroom. She's like, who are these people? I'm like, friends, I just met them. You just met them. How the frick you just meet them? They're in there smoking weed already with them? I'm like, yeah, dude, dropped a bag of weed. I gave it back. And I was like, what the frick are you doing? Don't bring strangers to our house, smoking dope and blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, relax, come on. So the redheaded kid, I get to talk to him, and I become friends with them, and they had several little scams and rackets going themselves. They weren't mob guys at all. They were just little hustlers, He wasn't even from New York, the redheaded kid. The other two were. Like one of them had lived there most of his life. The other one was born there, and then the other one, the redheaded kid, had just moved there like a year ago. So he made friends with these guys. So I started telling them what I did back in Michigan. Not mob stuff. Didn't even mention the mob. Didn't mention anything to do with my family, nothing like that. I'm like, yeah, back home I sold weed. He's like, yeah, I got an uncle who sold weed. So do I, He's like, no, my uncle was a huge weed dealer. I'm like, yeah. It's one of these days, I'm going to take you to meet my uncle. You'll like him. He lives right by us, right by here. So one day we meet his uncle at right on 3rd Avenue is a little cafe, I guess. I think it's Greek. I won't say for sure. There's actually 2 cafes on 3rd Avenue and 86. One over there across the street, and then one on this corner that's a little closer to 86. I don't know if they're still there, but they're real nice places. The smaller one was cheaper, and that's where we met the dude. So I go in there, and he starts telling me that he has friends in Detroit, and this old freaking dude named Cap starts telling me he's got friends in Detroit. He knew all these freaking guys in Detroit. He did a bunch of business with some Detroit guys, and blah, 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 blah. And he says, he tells me, weed was his business, and he tells me he's out of the weed business, but he's got some friends that are still in it. So I started talking to him, right? And he's still got. I think he was feeling me out. For the most part, I believe that he was probably still in the weed business, but he was being careful, like saying, I'm not involved in anything. I'm retired. I went to jail for a while. I don't know this, but what he ended up happening was they busted him for a bunch of acid. Like, 7,000 sheets of acid or something, right? And they basically were saying, you're going to go to prison for 20 years for this unless you rat on all these freaking mob guys he was tied to. He was tied to all these freaking, like, high-level mob dudes. This is a gangster, bro. This guy wasn't even in the mob. He wasn't even he never took an oath, nothing. And while he's in jail rotting away for like, I don't know, he's been in jail for like 7 years, and the feds are just squeezing him, saying, give us testimony on this guy and that guy and this guy. He won't do it. He's saying, fuck you. That's what he's saying. I ain't ratting on nobody. I ain't no ratting on this old Jewish dude who's a weed dealer. And all these mob dudes are flipping. All of them. They're all ratting and flipping and flopping, and they're telling on each other, telling on their boys, telling on him. He still won't. They're all, the feds are, dude, they are telling on you. They're cooperating, testifying you, saying all your business, the whole operation with the weed thing, like how you were flying in freaking jets of it from British Columbia to here, bringing it in the fishing boats. They're telling everything, man. They're frying you. All we want you to do is take the stand and tell us about this and that and this and that. And one of the things that they wanted them to testify about was the 2 dirty cops one of them was married to his sister or something like that. And so he didn't really tell me that in depth, but when the old man Vince was the one who told me all this, because I said, hey, I got this old weed dealer. This guy, he said he's got a plug on the weed, right? He's like, who? And I tell him, he's like, yeah, I know who he is. And this is the old man Vinny, Big Vinny, the one who looks like Gilligan. He's the dude who I kind of like reported to, if you will. And I'm telling him, because he said he had a bunch of freaking spots for weed. So the guy Cap ends up hooking us up with a dude, right? And he was from New Jersey, a dude from New Jersey named Shep. And he hooks us up with him. And starts getting all this weed. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, damn, dude, this is a really good price on weed, and he's like pretty liberal with it, like he'll front it out. So I'm trying to get it to the point where maybe the dude would front me 10 or 50 or 100 pounds or 500 pounds, and I could bring it back to Detroit somehow. And at one point, I did do that. I had this, man, what was this freaking guy's name? Marty. He looks like my friend Marty. I can't think of it, but it was like 10 pounds. We put it on a bus. Went on a bus and brought it to Detroit, and I flipped it, you know what I'm saying? So we were able to get some things rolling, but they didn't trust us. Anyways, the freaking guy, the guy he hooks us up with, the one who looks like my friend Marty, he starts selling heavyweight to Vince, who has a bunch of like, dude, this is a crazy story, man. I can't believe I've never told this story, but I had to tell the whole story in depth another day. But in a nutshell, Vinny, this old mafioso, Lucchese guy, made dude, starts squeezing these Jamaicans on Knickerbocker Avenue in Brooklyn into selling his weed. And he sent me and some other guys in there to tell the Jamaicans, either you sell our weed or you don't sell any weed. And the only time we had it, and then they said, oh, we're good, man. We have a plug. We're good. We're straight, man. We're good. I'm like, no, man, it ain't good. You're selling our weed or nothing. You got weed pumping out of here all day and night. You know what I'm saying? No, man, we got our own plug, man. We got good price, good blah, blah, blah. I said, no, man, what you got? You can't sell that weed anymore in here. That's what they wanted me to tell these guys. But we went in there deep. We all had pistols. I grabbed a baseball bat and smashed the place up. Smashed out the everything. I smashed everything with a baseball bat. The counter, the glass, the wall. They had records all over the wall, smashing them. They go, all right, man. While the other two had guns on them. Like, mother effer, say something. I told you, man, you sell our weed. So word got out really quick. And all the Jamaicans on Knickerbocker Avenue were like, fine, man. And the price was the same. The price for the weed that this guy Vince was giving them, who ended up being the friend of the cap dude who I introduced. This is crazy. Like, think about the degree of connection. I meet a dude who drops a bag of weed. He introduces me to an old man named Cap, who ends up saying, hey, I got a friend who's still in the weed game. Hooks me up with him, but I don't got any money and I'm nobody. I'm just a kid. So I hook him up with this old man, Vinny, who's like a pretty good high-level mob dude. And he's like, yeah. And he comes up to this plan. We're going to sell weed all up and down Knickerbocker Avenue, and we're going to run the weed game. But we got to muscle our way in. So he takes some guys like me. There's a bunch of us, and we go in there and terrorize these Jamaicans who don't want any violence. They're not, killers and gangsters and stuff for the most part. And so we say, here's freaking 10 pounds a week or whatever it is you sell for us now, bunk, bunk, bunk. And this was part of the job that I had when I lived in New York, dropping off these loads of weed, which was easy because I had a cab. I take a cab, but there was a cab stand at 86 and 3rd Avenue. There was a cab stand there. And there might have not even been a cab stand there, which is where cabbies hung out. There's always a bunch of cabbies that hung out right there. So I assume it was some kind of cab stand. But anyways, I made friends with this freaking fat cab driver, man, who's basically like, this guy loved to talk. He didn't care. I'd be like, yo, I got to put freaking 20 pounds in the trunk, man. Take me over to freaking Knickerbocker. And he's like, yeah, okay, cool, no problem. It's going to be $20 or whatever it is. I'm like, yeah, jump in the back. And while he was driving, he would tell me all kinds of shit. He was the biggest big mouth chatterbox gossiping mother effer I'd ever seen. He knew every mob guy in the neighborhood. He knew every wise guy in the neighborhood. He knew every crime, everything. And I'm in the backseat going, huh? Yeah? Word? Did that, huh? Tommy? What? Yeah, I don't know freaking who's he talking about. I'm just listening. And I'd pull up at this freaking little bodega or just like a head shop or whatever. And I'd get out with a duffel bag and I walk in, boom, come out with weed. And then they say, all right, man, here's your money. Bring me back to freaking 86. So, oh God, it was just so many little crazy stories like that from that time of my life. And that dude would drive me anywhere for nothing. I robbed it. This quick side story is, I robbed the freaking. This is how crazy gangster I was, bro. That's why these freaking little groupie dweebs who get on here and question my authenticity or my life or it's the dumbest shit I ever heard, man. Listen, I went to New York with a load of textiles one time. And I think this was the time that I paid a crackhead chick and her boyfriend and their one friend like $75. They had a van, and they took me to sell all this textiles that I had stolen out of this Cherry Hill textile plant. And I got like $3,000. And I told him I was going to give them $75 just to drive me there. Just to drive me there. I load up the van, drive me there, unload it. Here's $75. I'll give them $75. And I get back in the van. I'm like, hey, drop me out. Take me back to Brooklyn. And they're like, because this is a garment district in Manhattan. And they're like, all right, man, but you're going to give us more money. Give me more money? What the fuck are you talking about giving me more? I said $75. I gave you $75. He's like, no, I saw how much you got. You got like $3,000 for all that stuff. He's like, you give me more. I said, yeah, I got it. I stole it. I smashed a hole in the wall with a sledgehammer. Went in there. I packaged it all up. I threw it back out. Got it all ready. And then said, $75 to take me? And you said, yeah. And they're like, yeah, but you got $3,000 for it. You're going to give us more. Okay. I said, I am, huh? As soon as they stop at the next light, I'm like, I get out of the car. And I walk away. That was a really crazy day. And the reason why that day was super crazy is how crazy my life is. And I remember all this. There's a water main had broken in Manhattan. And you could probably Google this up and look this up. I'd imagine it was probably 1993 or 4, 5, something like that. I can't even remember the exact year. Probably 94, 95, maybe 96 even. Maybe 96. A water main had broken in Manhattan, and it flooded the entire section of Manhattan, like kind of midtown east or west side. Basically there was 2 avenues and 10 streets was a flowing river this deep. Flowing. You could have drove a jet ski. I remember saying to myself, my God, if I had a jet ski around here right now, I could get some great video. Like if somebody had a video, like a camcorder or something, and you could literally be jet skiing through Manhattan right now, freaking doing tricks, on a jet ski, because there's enough water flowing down the street. So everything was covered in water. Especially the streets. The sidewalks, some of them only had a few inches, but the street, the curb goes down like 4, 7, 8 inches, and then it's all water. And it's flowing, it's rushing, it's flowing, and it's going for blocks every direction, right? And so when I had jumped out of the van, I said, F you. I jumped out of the van. I'm paying you shit more. I'll get out of the van. I jumped out into this water, what I'm saying? Because the water was pouring out. I think maybe they thought that they had me, or he's not going to get out of the water. Get out of the water. And I'm like, yeah, okay, see you around. And I turned around and walk away, and right where I got out was the Nike World Headquarters. So whatever street that was on, might have been maybe like Broadway, could have been Avenue of America, Amsterdam maybe, 8th, I don't know, somewhere over there, by the garment district. We only were a couple of blocks from the garment district where I just sold the stuff. So I don't even look back at these crackheads, what I'm saying? The funny thing is the black chick, who they all smoke crack. The black chick, she's really pretty. She had a hot body. Just whoa, one of those just genetic freaks. Beautiful chick, beautiful body, but she's a crack smoker. She looked dirty, but still, you can see, too bad. I'm like, she just cleaned up and got her shit together. She'd be gorgeous. And her boyfriend was this stoic black dude. I didn't trust him at all. I felt like he hated white people, and he had a gun on him, and he could try to kill me anytime because I'm not checking on his girl the whole time. So I get out. And I walk into the Nike World Headquarters, and I walk in, and I start looking around, and all of a sudden I hear, hey, mother effer, you're going to give us some more money. I turn around, it's the girl. She's got a baseball bat. She's in no shoes on. She's barefoot. Her pants are rolled up. She's barefoot. She could walk through the water to the store. And there's people in there. There's quite a few people in there. I mean, people still around. And there's still over World Headquarters of Nike. So there's freaking, 20, 30 people moving around in this place. And everybody's looking at shoes. And I hear, hey, mother effer, you're going to give us some more money. I turn around what the fuck? I look at this dirty ass crackhead chick barefoot in the store with a baseball bat sitting on her shoulder like this. I walk right up to her and say, listen, bitch, you swing that bat on me, I'm going to take that bat and smash your head in like a melon. You got that? I'm the wrong mother effer. Trust me on that. I said, I'm from Detroit. I'm not playing no freaking games with you. Swing that bat. I'm going to take that bat and smash your head in with it. You got that? You got that? I'm the wrong motherfucker. And she's like, turns around and walk away. That was that. Oh, I'm trying to think about, anyways, I'm not even sure what the frick, where I was going with that part of the story, but there was those guys, the Vinny dude and the Bert dude, So I'd go back and I'd sit down. I ended up sitting down with this cap dude, and he'd tell these, these kind of funny anecdotal stories. And I think he might have been the one. He said, yeah, and when I went to jail, when I went to prison, I can't remember how he got out, but I think he eventually cooperated, but not in the way you think. Like I think he eventually, if I remember correctly, I could be totally wrong. If I remember correctly, the way he described it was the government. I wouldn't testify against any of these freaking mob guys, even though they're all rat scumbag weasels telling each other. I just wouldn't do it. I didn't have it in me. I'm not a freaking rat. That's what he said. But what the government wanted from me is to know how I got all that weed in all those years, for like 20 years, how I smuggled in millions and millions and millions of pounds of weed. And so they said, all I wanted to know. So basically, I was told on myself. And so in return, they would let me out of prison earlier, whatever it was. Cut a sentence down to, I think, 10 years or something. Because he was doing like 20, 30 years for the acid. And so he tells me, I basically laid it all out there, what I did and how I did it. And they reduced my sentence to 7 years, or 10 years, was 7 years total. They let him out with a good time. And he gets out. So now he's this old man. At the time, he's probably like 65 years old, maybe 70, I don't know. And he's got all these crazy stories. And he's telling me and his nephew these crazy stories. But the guy, keep in mind, he hooked us up with a dude who looked like my boy Marty, who was the plug on the weed. And they were pumping all this weed with the mob up and down Knickerbocker Avenue, and using us as like to deliver it, to collect money, to intimidate, whatever. All of this is to say that that guy, and there's more to his story too. There's a lot more, like, I can't remember it. It's not my story. I've heard a lot of it secondhand and third hand and bits and pieces. But sometimes I'll hear a story on a YouTube show or some mob channel, or I don't really ever watch mob channels, but like a true crime show or something. Then it'll make me go, oh yeah, man, I remember that old man Cap. I won't say his name. And said this and that and that. And I'll remember. And they're like, oh, that's part of that. And I just remember it. And it's crazy because when I started writing my book, Snowman Chronicles, which I talked about earlier, ultimately, my brief friendship with this old Jewish weed dealer / mob associate, because he was definitely highly involved with the mob, but he was more just a drug dealer. Smuggler is what he was. Had sparked into creation a large chunk of my novel. You know what I'm saying? Just from meeting this guy a few times. I met him probably 5 times. Had lunch with him a couple times. I think I went to his house one time. He lived there in Brooklyn, Bay Ridge. And I went with his nephew to his house. I remember sitting in the backyard. There was a couple dogs, and he was feeding his dogs. And he was talking. There's an umbrella thing, little backyard in Brooklyn. And he was just, felt comfortable and was sharing these stories. Because, I don't know, maybe he liked me because I was from Detroit. And he had some friends from Detroit. And he liked me. So I absorbed this stuff. I wasn't going, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. I'm saying, oh, man, this is a freaking interesting old man, man. Dude, this old man's a freaking G, bro. Are you kidding me? He done some shit. From smuggling to gangster stuff, mob stuff, blah, blah, blah. He married some, or no, was it his sister I think his sister had married a mob dude, is what it was. And that's how he knew the cops. I can't remember. There's kind of twisted. But anyway, so that's an interesting story about a dude I remember from New York. Call him Cap. Was it Captain? Maybe. But he was a gangster. He might be alive. He'd be old as dirt now. He'd be like freaking, he'd be like 90 years old. He's probably not alive. But still, he might have family. He might have kids. I don't want to freaking put him on blast or his kids. Like, who knows? Maybe his kids and his nephews and nieces never knew the backstory of his, his career or life. And then all of a sudden, God forbid, like it gets out there and they're like, yo, he's talking about Grandpa so-and-so or my uncle blah, blah, get the frick out of here, man. And they wouldn't want to know that. And there's a lot of people like, I have a friend of mine who works for Patrick David, right? My boy Gino. Now, Gino can confirm a lot of shit that I've said on here. He watches this show sometimes. He was a tough guy, a real tough guy from the neighborhood. Just like me, I've said it before, he's like the only guy in the neighborhood I respected as an equal, as a tough guy. He was a bad mouth effer. Could he whip me? Maybe. 100% maybe. But I think he'd tell you the same thing. Could Al whip me? Maybe. I wouldn't want to fight him, that's for sure. He was a bad mother effer. But he's seen me knock a bunch of mother effers out, and I've seen him knock a bunch of mother effers out. I've seen him knock out more guys than he's seen me. He knocked out more in front, in front of me than I have in front of him. But we both probably about equal on the knockouts and ass beatings. But anyways, you know, he doesn't even have any kids, but he works for Patrick Beck David at the headquarters in Miami or wherever it is. And he doesn't want his life out there talking about, you know, he doesn't want to come on my show and go, yeah, remember the time we smashed these guys? Remember the time we smashed them? Remember the East Detroit party? Freaking smashed. I pulled out a bat and smashed in the window of that car and they busted the bumper off your car and we chased them down. Remember that time we did this and that? Like, that's going to be out there for forever in the world. The last thing he wants is that, you know, all of a sudden Patrick Beck David say, hey, man, it's a YouTube show with you on there talking about you're smashing people and beating people up, hitting them with baseball bats, and this guy Gunner's was a gangster, man, and you know you were hanging around him, and dude, what? So he's like, no, I can't do that. I don't blame him, of course. My friend Pat, seen me done knockout mother effers, hit mother effers with bat. He's seen me done every horrible thing imaginable. He's seen me do it. My boy Pat, Irish kid, tough, stocky, muscle bound Irish dude who owned a bar called at Pat O'Brien's. I'll say it, I don't care. He's seen me do a lot of shit. And he's a big fan of mine. He would come right on the show and say, listen, Al was the biggest, craziest mother effer I ever met. Craziest. He was the guy who would do anything. He would freaking break a guy's jaw like that. He would rob a boat, he would do whatever the F it was. He was just insane. He would tell you this. He would say Gunner was out of his flipping mind when we were young. I saw him do insane stuff every day. It was normal for him. But he won't, but his son follows me on YouTube because he's into the fishing, his son. So Pat doesn't want his son knowing that he was involved in some of them things. I probably shouldn't have said that, you know, but you know, so he wouldn't come on my show and appear as a guest and talk about the stuff that we did. Because I would bring up stuff that he was involved in or was around or could have been involved in. And he looked like an asshole, you know, he's got kids, you know, he's a professional. Anyway, that's all I'm saying. Anyways, God bless. It's another show in the books. I got to go run into Dunham's, try to find some true turn fishing hooks, which are my favorite time of hook. And they're probably sold out, but I got a doctor's appointment. So maybe I'll record another show on my way home. Just remember, I'll think of a story because there's always something to talk about. But I thought of a couple stories just now. What was the one I was just talking about? I need to talk about. Oh, Cherry Hill Textile. I might do that. No, for now, make sure you buy my book. If you haven't bought my books, To Be a King, Volume 1 and 2, make sure you at least check out the reviews. The reviews are organic and real. They're all real. You're going to look at them and go, this can't be real. There's no way this book is that good. Yeah, it is. They're all real reviews. Check them out. And get ready for my next book, Blind Sight 2030. It's a political thriller. And basically in the year 2030, shit hits the fan and it goes bad for America. So make sure to check that out. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Make sure to like and follow and share. And go to my, I got to tell people to follow me on Instagram. My Instagram account got hacked and stolen, so I had to start a new one called The Real Gunner Detroit. So if you go there and follow me, I post pictures and it's kind of funny, interesting stuff, I like to think. So follow me. I had like 4,000 followers and then I got scammed by Nigerians and now I got like 500 followers starting all over. That's what I got to do. Life.
Former prisoner and inmate.
You did it. What are you doing, Guns?
You bit the hell out of me.
Wanna see you with your hands up. Going straight to the sky, let me see you put your hands up. Cause we do till we die and we on another level.
I'm at New York City.
To the rest of your body, got a piece of the pie. Told you once, told you twice that we only got one life.
On the way to achieve success after prison, and he's going to share his story with us right now.
Diamond shine, best at night.